Those are one of the earlier like bands in that genre.
We like ripped off their whole synth, like synth, the way they do it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I only have like
You
the
can pass
two
the mic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's
I
what.
won't
That's
talk
what.
too much anyways.
You what?
I probably won't talk as much as Chris anyways.
Well, also because it is like a smaller space, it should pick up.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
be fine. So should I? Okay.
Yeah, hang on to it.
We can.
Yeah, it'd be good.
Huddle in.
All right, so here today with The World is a Beautiful Place, and if you introduce yourself.
I'm Chris, and I play guitar.
I'm Josh, and I play bass.
I'm Steve. I play drums.
And we are here at the Subterranean in Chicago for the 10th anniversary of Harmlessness. And yeah, what an amazing album. I mean, what's it like with this album turning 10 and taking it on tour like this?
It's kind of cool to reinterpret the presentation of some of the songs into how the band is now and how we are like as musicians and what guitar parts we might choose to have live, because there's a lot of different layers that come in and out, and kind of reimagining some of the songs, but it's still like pretty faithful to the record. I feel that it sounds better than it did actually when we were touring on it.
Yeah. Especially with my bass parts, I played a 4-string back then, and now I play a 5-string. So it's easy for me to like beef up some parts that maybe weren't as like heavy sounding.
Yeah, we've kind of like learned how to be a band even better than back then. Honestly, like, which is should be the goal. It's 10 years later, but like, you know, also like we just saw a poster in this venue. That's from the tour, the release tour.
TTNG,
Foxing, and Brightside.
Yeah.
So I just saw that. Like, we just saw that, 10 minutes ago, like right before we came down to see you, which was like jogging our memory a little.
Okay.
It's like a nice little memory. It's cool to cap off the anniversary tour here, and in that way, it's a nice little memento.
And I will say, it's insane how fast 10 years goes by.
Yeah. The first package tour we ever did was a 10-year tour for Finch, What It Is to Burn.
Yeah, and at the time I was like, oh man, that album came out so long ago, because I listened to it in like high school.
Yeah, same.
But now I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah,
like,
it's
I can't believe
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you hit that, this is now our second 10-year thing for a record. It's like, oh yeah, it actually wasn't that long. Like, that's how those people felt at that time, but because I was like, 22, 23.
Yeah.
We were all like pretty young.
I was like 21 or 22 when we did that.
Yeah, so it's like, at that time you're like, I was 11 when that record came out, but yeah.
We're getting people at our shows that are like, yeah, this really helped me out when I was like a freshman in high school.
Yeah, I was gonna say this album came out the year I was graduating high school. I think it came out in like the fall, because like I remember like being out of high school at first, like that first like some like that where you should feel like you're back in school but you're not yet, and it's like that weird transitionary time period. Because like the way I would describe this album, if I had to give it in one sentence, is kids on bikes who now have cars but nowhere to go. So like think about like the kids from the Goonies or E.T. Stand By Me.
Yeah.
You know, they used to ride with bikes around their neighborhood, going on little adventures and like making up stories. And now they're like 17, they have cars, but they have nowhere to go in their small town. So they talk about a good thing that happened to someone in some town that I don't remember. I dated a girl, but she went to another school. You know, like these like kind of hazy but very vivid memories that are built up with these luscious lyrics, and it really does paint that time stone of that era. And it is telling to see like 10 years has like gone by like that. It's like you mentioned that you were on Foxing with that last year. They went on their 10th anniversary tour with Hotelier for the Albatross and Home Like No Place There Is. So a lot of those very seminal albums from that genre are coming around, you know. So like what's it feel like to be part of that movement, you know, to be so like involved in that scene and be like to see this kind of reception hold up after all these years?
It's just, I don't know how to say it. It's just like,
It's
surprising. Yeah, it's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, that people still care, you know.
Yeah,
It's cool that people are still like coming to see us, and you know, this album means a lot to us, and we know it means a lot to a lot of people too. So it's been really nice to be able to just like, I don't know, share these experiences with everybody.
Yeah, and I'm like not normally like a nostalgic person. I'm always like trying to like, oh, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? But for this, it's like it's cool. It's like a short and sweet thing, and it's like been nice to be like, oh yeah, I feel better about us like playing these now than back then. Like it's like a
I feel way more
fun,
comfortable.
Yeah, it's actually really fun. Which like I would just never want it to be the opposite. And I've seen that be the opposite for some bands, and they're just like, it's just like a slog. They're kind of getting through it, but you're like, the glory day of however they sounded live 10 years ago is gone. But this, I am like, it's like a confidence booster.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, the feeling I had about us being better now as a band that's real. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And you talk about like your sound developing. I've noticed, like you said, you went from playing like a 4-string to a 5-string, playing a deeper, heavier sound. You can kind of track that through your guys' discography, and something that's kind of reflective of that also is like the choice of bands you've come along with, like on tours, like Dreamwell, The Ocean. You're playing with Meth tonight. Dillinger Escape Plan last year. So like, do you see like an influence of like the bands you're working with helping you push in that like heavier, newer direction? Was that something you kind of foresaw coming, or were always trying to experiment with?
I think we've all really been attracted to like heavier music for a decent amount of time.
Yeah, I grew up going to like hardcore and metal shows.
But we always like around the time of like whenever, if ever, we got lumped in with like emo bands and stuff like that. So like we were playing shows with bands.
We're an emo band.
Yeah.
But we're like we like to.
We went a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
Than some of those other bands, it'd be like, oh, we have 3 guitars now. Oh, like one of them is playing baritone.
And like I, even before the world is, like playing in bands that were more about like volume.
Yeah.
Steve's earlier band that I saw was more like a noise band, and anytime I saw them, it felt like a riot, like absolutely one of the craziest things.
I've always been like kind of attracted to that kind of just, like you can feel it a little bit more.
When I first met Steve, I knew of him as Noise Rock Steve. He was like the gnarliest drummer possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like playing with bands like Dreamwell or bands like the Dillinger Escape Plan, it's like we are in a position now where we can just kind of play with bands that we want to play with.
Right.
That's why like this whole tour has had like all the opening bands on this tour have been like hand selected. Like they're bands that we want to see.
Right.
Which I think is really fun.
Yeah, and it's like also seeing like old friends, like some of these bands we've known for years or toured with in the past, and like it's just like fuck it, we're just gonna do whatever. Like also we're like so many records deep now that and been a band for so long that it's just like, I mean, we do it for us. Like obviously,
and we want to keep pushing ourselves.
We want to keep pushing ourselves. It's not like, oh damn, I really wish I could figure out how to write a song that we did like 12 years ago.
Right.
Like that is a great like picture of that time period, and that's awesome. Like, but it's like, who are you now? Like people change and they shift, and like you got to try to. Our view is try to do something different, not just do the same thing. And I love Harmlessness. I am like super proud of it. And it's like a big step for us. And
huge for us.
Yeah, and it was like a big step for us, like to kind of the building out the framework of what the band shifted towards. Like there's hints of what we are now, and that was like a big learning curve. So it's just, I mean, there's like some heavier stuff on the record. Had we done it now, yes, certain things would have been heavier, but like we were figuring it out. That's us figuring out how to do this.
And that's got to be part of the beauty of having like an anniversary tour like this, where you get to have these kind of retrospective moments by playing it over again and getting to kind of relive it. Like talking about some of the bands that you drew influence from, you guys did a cover of Circles by Sunny Day Real Estate a few years ago. And what other kind of 90s bands do you think you kind of draw inspiration from? Because the bands I would liken you guys closest to would be Newfound Interest in Connecticut, a bit of Hum, and then Sunny Day Real Estate. So like there's that kind of and like bands like Slint as well, like that kind of indie, longer, like these big instrumentals followed by very succinct lyrics that help create like a very long, broad picture. where did some of those bands kind of fall in line for you in terms of inspiration?
It's funny you mentioned Hum, because the song Mount Hum on Harmlessness was a working title that I think it was a working title I just put on the file for when we were writing it, because I thought it sounded like a combination of Mount Erie and Hum. And then when we were like picking the title, it's like, oh, just Mount Hum. Sure. It's like, it's not a location, it's just that was the working title of like the two things that I thought it sounded like. And I mean, for me personally, Sunny Day Real Estate is like a big thing. I mean, I was just listening to the re-recording, like the live re-recording of Diary.
So good.
Really
and yeah, it was amazing. But I don't think on like say Harmlessness we were like, oh, I really want to sound like Sunny Day Real Estate or something.
We were kind of just like doing our own thing.
Yeah,
there were bands that we listened to a lot back then. Like
Modest Mouse is probably a big
Modest Mouse. Flint was definitely one of them. Hey guys,
hello.
We're doing an interview.
Hey.
So sorry.
It's okay.
No, it's all good.
It's okay.
It's cool.
Don't go crazy. You can just
Let's chill.
yeah, it's fine. That was our sound person Moses. He rules.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
But I feel like by the time we were doing Harmlessness, that was like there's no rules. Like we hit that.
Yeah.
That was like there's no rules. Like I was falling asleep at night, like every night of tracking during that record, listening to just tons of different influences just for like suggestions
Those
for
are
trying to figure stuff
Four
out.
guitar players that all had different like musical backgrounds.
Literally, it was such a mishmash of like one person be like, I love Modest Mouse, another person be like, I love
folk music.
Folk music. Oh, I love the percussion on Living Sacrifice and like Meshuggah or something.
Yeah.
It was literally like across the board, and that's why I think the record has so many different elements that it's like everyone's ideas just like slamming in. But like at that point, we figured out at least a way to get it more succinct, so it doesn't sound like okay, like when you're younger, you have like a high school band, like everybody's got a different influence, and then in the end, you're like.
Yeah, there's like parts that sound like Neurosis on that record.
Yeah, Neurosis was a big one. Like we need more skulls. That was like a reference point for Say That, or love the percussion of that distorted drums. Was the distorted drum stuff was like trying to replicate stuff like that.
Like kind of like listening to a lot of The Body at that time too.
The Body was a big one.
Distorted drums and like kind of just weird drum parts. And,
but then you're like, oh, here's a song like Wendover. It's just like, oh, I love Modest Mouse.
Yeah.
But I want to. It'd be cool to
for
have
me,
a song like that.
a lot of my bass parts on Harmlessness are definitely very influenced by Modest Mouse.
And they're a great band.
Yeah.
And like, it's, it's just like it was just everybody's ideas like colliding, which was like a fun. It was like, oh, another one was like Broken Social Scene.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So there was a lot of influences, but some of them were like significantly heavier bands, but some of them were much lighter.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, you're talking about the expanse in sound going from like whenever, if ever, I think it was like 35 minutes long, and this album comes in a little over like an hour.
Yeah.
So talk about not only expanding the sound, but like the length of the album, it's like putting a lot more into this.
Yeah.
So like that must have been a huge jump going from that album being, kind of like your like first breakthrough with Whenever, If Ever, then nearly doubling it and then coming out with this.
So yeah, and even like with 90s bands for me at the time. I mean, especially now, this is huge for me, was Fantastic Planet and by Failure, which there's not really stuff that sounds like Failure on that record, really, except for all the weird layering stuff was like any weird sounds like that I may have added in my head. That's what we were doing. But it was big for me because it was the first record full length I produced for the band, and that like the story of the singer Ken Andrews of Failure producing Fantastic Planet, that was the first record he produced for them. That was like a big thing for me personally going into it.
Yeah.
And I actually talked to him about that. We played a festival with them, and I probably weirded him out. Because I was like,
yeah, you were fanboy.
I was so stoked. But that was like for me personally, that was like a big thing of like, how can I push myself in that realm? Is like the first record that I'm doing for the band, and just. That's part of how we were able to like get crazier with it was like we had more time than say Whenever If Ever. Whenever If Ever was spread out over a long period of time, but it was a lot more like, oh dude, we got like 3 hours left. This was like we have 3 weeks and they're long days, and we're cramming everything we can into it, and it's just like everything possible. Like, what can we do? So, yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, probably because we were doing it ourselves, like, or Chris was recording it, like, just being like, oh, we can add more songs, like, we can overwrite this thing and then just kind of chop stuff that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and which we did. There was
Flexibility.
there was a lot of flexibility, and like at that point we had been touring so much that it was like we were like on fire with, like, at least, like, we had grown a lot. It was just like, we can do this. Like for whenever, if ever, I was not confident to take that on. I was like 23. Sure. It was like I was still pretty new to recording. Not that I wasn't during Harmlessness, but like,
yeah, we were
comparatively
like 8 months out of the year.
Yeah, and we were playing live a lot. Like, and now we have all those things we learned, right? But at that time, that was new for us. And yeah, so it was a lot more flexibility on that stuff. But we recorded 17 songs. Not all of them were full band. One of them was like acoustic, but 17 songs. We cut it down to 13. It was like, I don't know, it was something 13 on the record. There was a bonus track, and the last day of tracking, I cut 5 to 7 minutes off. But we overwrote parts. It would be like, let's play this part like 16 times, and then once vocals are in, chop it down. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense, right? Yeah. We wanted to give like flexibility to like Dave and Katie to be like, right.
Vocals are always kind of done last with us.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that was a big element of that record. Yeah, but
well, I mean, yeah, with you guys also have a lot of members in the band too, you know, so that like everyone's creative voice kind of funneling in. It can be I can see it being hard to like refine that down to like its purest elements of what you want it to be.
Yeah, it was a crazy time. Like, because I literally like was trying to funnel in every idea possible and try to like make it like concise, not like it's easy for that to become a mess, like, right out the gate. But I somehow, you know, it came together. And there's stuff on that record where I'm like, oh, that's like a little crazy. I wouldn't do that now. But I was like, you know what? There's a charm to it, and I love that sort of like picture of that time. That was cool. Like it's easy to get in your head and be like, oh, I wish I would have played this guitar part different. It's like that was just a snapshot of my life at that point.
Right.
Whoever's, you know, the band. So there's like there's a cool charm to that.
Yeah, and like with playing these songs live, have you noticed like certain crowd reactions that because like the album's had time to sit with people? Maybe people are how are people reacting differently now versus they did, you know, 10 years ago? Do you notice a difference in the reaction? Because like you said, some of the people, you know, myself included, like we grew up with this album. It's a very coming of age album, it feels like. How has the general reaction been to it?
I think the people who saw us 10 years ago play this record, if they're coming out to these shows now, they're less likely to stage dive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's more of just it's more of a vibe element, which I think is cool.
Yeah,
the crowds have been very loud, which is awesome. I can like hear people singing even with like in-ears and stuff.
Yeah, and I think when we were touring on the record, like right when it came out, there was maybe less of that. People didn't even know the record. Yeah,
because it was like younger people.
And we weren't even really playing all of the songs from the record back then. Like Mount Hum specifically, we didn't really play that much.
A few times.
And seeing people like singing along to like the end of that song has been really cool.
This is the first time that we've played a few of those songs on the record.
Yeah,
really?
Like ever, so.
Yeah, and
more than a few of those. I think.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, some of those other ones we just haven't played in years. Like we've played like January 10th all the time. I Can Be Afraid a bunch.
Sometimes, depending on the vocals.
Yeah, and we had like sustained past just that touring cycle at least. There was like one or two others that were like around a little in the set list after Harmlessness cycle, but it all kind of just,
That's cool.
It's awesome to see and like just hear stuff from people, even like not even like crowd reaction itself, like just be talking to people about it. You know, it's crazy.
That's maybe the cooler part of it is like talking to people either before or afterwards, and then just, like sharing their stories of how they found us, or you know, like what they were doing 10 years ago when they listened to it.
Yeah, and I just ran into like 3 people when we first got in that drove from like Dallas area.
Oh, really?
for this. It was crazy. They saw me walk by them and started talking to them. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I don't know if I would drive that far for my favorite band. And like, I was like, this is cool. This is crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I know so many people who say like, yeah, this was like a game changer of an album for them. Or like I said, I was doing a stream where I was playing the album the whole way through while like doing like a game, and someone's like, this whole time you've been playing, I've been singing along, I've been watching, like, what a banger, what a choice. And I'm like, yeah, it's a great album. That's a real timestamp, perfectly in the middle of that decade that like really stands out. And kind of like a final question, if there was like one song each of you had to pick from the record that you're like most proud of, or say represents the album the best, what would you say that is?
Just from playing these songs again, Rage Against the Dying of the Light and Into Rob Patera Dance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those have been hitting, like they've been hitting really nicely for me live. I also think we're just playing them better, but I feel like that's a nice kind of peak in the middle of the set.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot of fun.
I would say the same. I think both of those songs have like a lot of elements of like all the different things that we do like on the record, just kind of like condensed into those songs.
Okay.
I would also actually say the same
Yeah.
thing. I love that they kind of flow into each other.
Nice.
And it's kind of a good mixture of the various elements of the band all kind of in one. And we extend out the outro of Rob Patera a little. It gets a little heavier, but it's like the big thing is having violin on this tour for those songs, because I don't know if those songs would work well without violin. I'm sure we could play them, but
It
like
wouldn't be as
It
fun.
wouldn't be the same.
yeah, it's like a whole game changer. Like, so we have someone named Josh Knowles playing violin with us on this tour, and that guy's killing it. It was like a late addition to this. We almost didn't do it without violin, and last minute there was a realization of, oh no, that's like, we can't not do that. And this guy learned it all within 10 days, and
One rehearsal.
one rehearsal with us, and he does all the cool like little looping stuff with stuff through guitar pedals. It adds especially to those songs. And it's like, yes, we did have violin on the initial tour cycle of this, but it's all like everyone's much more mature as a musician and like knows how to make everything sound better, playing wise, and in regards to other musicians in the band being able to like, oh, I can loop this part or just not play in this section of the song. It's fine.
And since you all copied my answer, Mental Health is also pretty fun to play.
Well,
because I think it just sounds really pretty.
It is a pretty sounding song.
Dave and Katie's vocals in that song are meshing very well together.
Yeah.
well, for the last one, I think this will get a different answer. If there was, to expand the question, if there was one song that, if you were to show someone the world is for the first time, to try and show them what you guys are all about, what song would you pick?
From that record.
From any record.
Oh, any record.
Any record.
Uh-oh.
I have my answer in my head that I'll say after you guys go, but
Okay.
I'm curious what you would show if you were to say this is what I think, or like maybe it's a song you're the most proud of, or that you don't think it's enough love, or that's a song you like playing.
Does it have to be something that's released?
It could be unreleased. It's a good sign if you're the work you think is.
the stuff that I'm most proud of hasn't really come out yet.
Okay.
I love
stuff that we're working
everything that we've done in the past, but I think like we're just kind of expanding even further, which is cool. As far as songs that have been released, the last two tracks on Illusory Walls I think are kind of like peak World Is stuff. Infinite Josh and Fewer Afraid. Those like really long songs from that record, because it just has every part of everything we do. All in those
Yeah, we
songs.
even have a spoken word person who was on Between Bodies do there's like a quiet little layer in there. It kind of like, and then we have like the lyrics from Getting Sodas come back.
So it's everything
It's a
from like
whole-
every record kind of mixed into those last two songs.
Okay.
Which, and more expansive songs like that are fun.
Yeah.
I like playing Getting Sodas still.
Okay.
That would be the one that you would show.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it showing a person or playing it?
We can't play the last 2 songs from the release.
Oh, that's true.
We could. It would just be a whole production.
It turned into a Godspeed show at that point.
Which
Yeah.
would be fine with me.
I wouldn't object to that.
Trouble's a really fun song to play, and it's like really heavy, but also like pretty.
Yeah.
Got a lot of the elements of what we do.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good option. That's a really good option for something that would be easy for someone to be like, here's like a 3 to 5 minute track max, right? Like maybe that. Yeah, I actually rewatched the music video the other day because someone asked us who made it, and I had to look up the person's name, and I started watching the video. I was like, oh, this is like cooler than I remember. I liked it at the time, but looking at it from like separated out years from it, and I was like, oh, this kind of rocks, like more than I thought. I'd say, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Trouble.
Okay. Yeah, for me, the song that represents the world is Getting Sodas. That's like the song I put on where if anyone's like, hey, what is this band all about? I'm like, here you go.
And that's a good option because we are playing that on this tour. That's the non-harmlessness song that we're playing on this. So like you are very correct on that.
Yeah.
Like we were like, what is an extra track we could throw? Is that?
Yeah.
That song has elements of everything that's even on newer stuff too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's what I was gonna
that
say.
makes
Like,
sense, yeah.
it really, for a song that came out on that first album, like it is something that was almost I want to say like prophetic, but predictory of what was coming.
Foreshadows a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm just glad it wasn't Fight Boat.
Chris hates playing Fight Boat. I think that song is so fun.
Okay,
He doesn't like
the
it because he
song-
has to play trumpet on
Yeah,
it.
the trumpet is what kills me on it. It's a fun short one, but goddamn, packing the trumpet is like nightmare fuel. Like flying overseas with it, I literally am like, oh, okay, I guess I'm bringing less clothes or anything because of this trumpet part for 15 seconds. It's like the bane of my existence.
Yeah.
It's funny because the first time I saw you guys on the Whenever tour, you guys played Fight Boat twice.
Yeah.
You played it during the main set.
Yeah.
And then for the encore, you're like, hey, well, we didn't really practice something, so we're going to Fight Boat again.
Yeah.
Because we know people want to hear.
Oh, it's a banger.
Did we do it 4 times? Did we do it 4 times at the end of the Whenever
I
tour?
think so. Yeah.
It was something
we did
stupid.
it in obnoxious amount.
I got really good at the trumpet. On
Oh,
that
it's
part.
like there was like a White Stripes tour where Jack White busted out Screwdriver like 3-4 times a set, and like when I saw Paul Simon, he busted out Graceland back to back.
Oh, sick.
Oh, it was one of the most like unreal shows ever.
Yeah.
But like the entire venue, like the entire United Center was just like you've never seen so many geriatric folks up and dancing. And then he just like the song finishes, it's a like shakes the house and he goes, let's just do it again. And
That's
it just
great.
like runs it right back. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what a legend.
That's awesome.
But
What a
yeah.
good song too.
Oh, dude, in my opinion, it's like maybe top 3 songwriters of all time. Like, Paul Simon's the man. He's going on tour again at like 83, and it's like, dude, still got it.
Shout out to the hustle.
Honorable mention. I Will Be Okay. Everything.
That's
it.
a fun one.
Yeah.
That's a fun one. We haven't busted it out in a while, but it's actually pretty fun.
Crow's Nest.
We wrote that song, and I was like, oh, this is like a post-rock thing, which is like, I was like, we just wrote a post-rock song. It's funny because it didn't really turn in, it really wasn't that, and it's finished product. Yeah, but when, like, first day writing that song, I was like, oh my god, this is crazy.
It's funny, you're like, yeah, this is a post-rock. We're a post-rock band now.
Yeah.
Explosions in the Sky, God is an Astronaut, the world's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think because that's making me think of one other thing.
What?
It's just over the years, like just accepting certain eras of the band and like being like, that's cool. That's a cool time capsule. That's a cool time capsule. I'm proud of that. And just because of like talking to people years of stuff and doing the anniversary thing a couple times, like it's nice. It's just a nice little thing.
all right, well, hey, thank you very much for the time,
Well,
and
thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to the show.
This was great.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
You rock.
Thanks.